Hello, friends, and let me start with this statement that nobody is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes, but some mistakes will teach you a great lessons and make you a better person. Yes, friends, today's session is all about what mistakes we made as a Scrum Master and lessons we learned from those mistakes, and more importantly, what you can learn from those mistakes. Hello, friends, and welcome to our YouTube channel, CareersTalk. My name is Sunan Sharma. I am an Agile consultant based in Netherlands. And if you are coming to our channel first time, please do subscribe our channel for valuable content on Agile Scrum. And the last, if you like this session, please hit like. So without further delay, let me introduce today's guest. So we have Parshuram with us, joining from Chennai, India. He's an Agile coach with 12 years of experience in IT industry. He's a passionate Agilist working closely with large organizations. Next, we have Harshvardhan with us. He is an Agile coach, having experience working as a developer, BA, architect across various domains. And currently, he's working with Danske IT and helping them with organization transformation and leadership coaching. So welcome, both of you. Hi, Parshu.
Hi, thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about, let's start with this quote that don't waste a good mistake, learn from it. So Parshu, over to you. What do you want to start with this session?
Yes, thank you very much, Sunand, and thank you once again, Career Talks, for having me. Yes, I'll start with a mistake which I have committed in 2017. Right, this is like many of us can relate to this. Where I'm a fresh Scrum Master, I learned Scrum. I don't know what exactly the situation is. What I used to do first thing is go teach Scrum for people. That's how I started my career as a Scrum Master in 2017. The first team I got, what I used to do is go to the team. I don't care about what is the value they are generating, what is the work they are doing. The first thing I do is, hey guys, learn Scrum. Go just, we say gyan, right? In Hindi, I was used to give a lot of gyan to people, like saying, hey, learn Scrum. This is what Scrum events are. These are Scrum artifacts are. You have to do it. But if you ask me, where should I apply it? No, I had no clue. So what happened eventually, team did not understand why Scrum and why that has to be implemented, where that has to be implemented. They learned Scrum, but they don't know how to implement it. They got, completely burnt out, without knowing the importance of the artifacts, importance of the events. They burnt out and they worked over the weekends, and then everything was a waste. That was a biggest mistake which I have committed. Eventually, how did I learn was again talking to multiple seniors about, hey, where it is like implemented. The first tip they have given is like, hey, go talk to the team, learn from them. What are they trying to implement? And then listen. And you have one of the Scrum values is trust. Create that trust, understand, and then you can start slowly changing one habit at a time and then start implementing Scrum. Then it will work. So in my whole 12 years of experience and in that 5 to 6 years of Agile coaching and Scrum Master experience, that is what I've been doing. That is really working. So that is the first key learning which I wanted to share. Now I want to transfer it to Harsh to add anything that I could have done differently, back then. Over to you, Harsh.
Yeah, I think it's by nature, right? When we go as a Scrum Master, we think that okay, we are there to just ensure people
Absolutely.
understand what Scrum is, and somehow you go through an interview where you're asked questions about Scrum, so you feel that my job is to ensure everybody knows their job.
That's true.
so
No, you're
that's
put
how
under
it
a lot
starts.
of pressure, right? Without giving the context, right? You go implement Scrum. right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and then we spend little less time in understanding what is the reason we are trying to do this, right? And then because Scrum could be done various ways, right? It's not like one day you are doing something and the next day you are in Scrum. It's an incremental process itself.
Absolutely.
So us as a Scrum Master, I guess we have to identify, we have to be patient first, understand its people, not process, right?
Yep.
And then start from there and then see where is learning required, where is listening required, and then slowly start growing from that.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
I just want to add a small point over here, Parshu, to your
Yep.
point that I think people are more focused on doing Scrum rather than being Scrum. I think that's the fundamental difference, and it's taking a time, but it's happening in few organizations. At least I have seen now that not the case like 2-3 years back. I think it's a phase thing. In the beginning, we are focusing on doing Scrum. In a way, it's, if you ask me personally, in a way, it's also okay because if we even, at least that's the beginning, that's the very first step, right?
Yeah.
So, but then most of the time, people stuck there only. They don't know how to elevate, to the next step of being Scrum, and that's where the challenge is, right? So
Correct.
all the events have their own purpose, reason, right? So if we as a Scrum Master are not able to explain in a proper way to our team, to our managers, to our client, okay, what's the purpose, what's the benefit out from this event or from Agile or from Scrum, right? So that's something for us to improve on. And I think we all are doing that from now. It's an ongoing learning process. So yeah.
Absolutely right. In fact, when you said that, this is what going in back of my mind, right? I recently met Todd Little, who's Kanban University's chairman, right? He said this to me, right? If you're doing Scrum and if you are not evolving the framework or processes that you're doing, you're actually not doing Scrum. Because the first statement in the Scrum guide itself says it is evolutionary, it is empirical. Empirical is evolutionary. You have to constantly learn from what you're doing and adapt your processes, using this framework. If you're not evolving your processes, then you're not following Scrum, right? You have to learn, you have to start learning. That is the key. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, now before I go and start with the second mistake, right? Sunand, I'll turn it out to you. So, what is that? The second mistake that you did? No, we spoke about first mistake in length.
I did a lot of mistake and I have a long list which I have jotted down over here for you guys. So let me take you through what I have seen. Okay. Now, this I think knowingly or unknowingly, lot of Scrum Master, including me, done this kind of mistake, especially when they're starting their career as a Scrum Master. So, and this, though I have just put a daily Scrum call, but this micro manager thing is there across. Because what happened that most of the time people do this transition from different roles. Sometimes they are a project manager, sometimes they're a lead, So it will take time, honestly, if you ask me, it will take time to individual itself to get into that phase of Scrum Master, that's a servant leadership, which we talked about, right? So we know that in daily Scrum call that we need to inspect progress toward our sprint goal and we need to adapt the sprint backlog, right, as necessary. That's the main purpose of doing the daily Scrum calls. So, and these questions are there. Now they are not there in our updated Scrum 2020, but then that time those questions are there. Now, still I like these questions. These questions are now optional, but still I want, if anyone, a new Scrum Master are starting their career, the new team, right, they should have these questions. I really like these questions. The only problem with these questions are, and at least which I have done, that intentionally I highlighted these in yellow. So normally what is happening in the daily Scrum call that, okay, what did I do yesterday? What will I do today? And do I see any impediment challenges? That's it. The main second part, we are somehow not focusing on that. What did I do yesterday that helped my team to meet the sprint goal, or that helped my team to meet the sprint goal? That's the something. What kind of impediment or challenges which I am seeing that prevent me or my team for meeting the sprint goal, right? The second part is most important, which normally we are not focusing on, which we are not even thinking on, right? So that's something I think which I have done earlier in my career as a Scrum Master, right? So the whole idea is it doesn't matter that how much busy you are yesterday or today, right? But what the value addition you have done with respect to our sprint goal, that's matter. Not that, okay, I'm spending 10 meetings or 20 meetings, I was busy with this and that. That should be not the purpose of our daily Scrum call, right? So that's something which I have learned. Yeah. Yeah, guys, you want to add something on this?
Harsh, do you want to add? Because Sunan had given me a very good point, which I want to talk in length.
Go ahead.
But Harsh,
No, go ahead.
Okay.
I'd like to listen to that first. Yeah.
Okay, very nice. This is a story, right? This leads to both micromanaging and being busy. Again, this comes in my experience of 2017. Micromanaging, a very strong thing. We all know about this word micromanaging, but I want to tell how it had impacted my life's real story. Where from that particular organization, I just have one friend, because I was, though I was hired as a Scrum Master, I was a micromanager actually. I used to call people over the weekends to complete the work. People used to hate coming into this particular project because there is someone called Parashu who's going to push you and sit behind you get this task done. So that's the understanding what I had, and especially I was super busy because I'm not delegating anything. I'm constantly being behind with people, trying to get things done. I have not let people to go explore and come back. I did not. Though the value trust, we covered the value of trust in the previous thing also. In this point also, trust comes a major factor. Right? I never used to trust anybody. I used to micromanage. No trust was there. Constantly, asking people, where are we? What are we doing? Pulling people in there and being busy. That is when this magical thing happened. The CEO of the organization reached out to me. The first thing he asked is, hey, do you know people hate you? I was like, why, man? I'm like with them all the time. I take them to, ice cream parties every weekend. But still, yeah, Parashu, because you're just busy. You're not reflecting on yourself, how things are going on. You're just with them always. People hate you. People hate you outside the organization. I mean, outside the team also, to come to your team because you do all this nonsense. The first thing he said is, except for the events, you're not going in and talking to them. And then start reading the book, stop worrying. Stop worrying. I remember, I don't remember the book full name. This, stop worrying. That book had changed phenomenally. Right? No, I stopped worrying from that particular point. Hey, whatever result has to come, we learn from them. That is what a Scrum is all about. You have the 2 weeks feedback loop to understand what worked and what did not work. So in the next 2 weeks, you're going to learn from that. Right? So guys, take a step back, enjoy the process. People are more important. Don't push them. That is the key learning for me. Again, this is from the very first being a Scrum Master experience. From a technical lead or architect to a Scrum Master shift, right? This is what has happened for me. Harsh, over to you.
Good point. I think you were probably in a good, leadership hands. I've been in a situation where I was, as a Scrum Master, asked to ensure everybody stays till 10 o'clock in the night.
I myself was staying till 11 p.m. man. I used to come at 9 a.m.
But see, it's like this. If I like staying till 11, doesn't make sense that everybody else likes that, right? So everybody has a different thing. So I think as a Scrum Master, even I feel that one of the good mistakes sometimes probably when I have done is that we prioritize goals over people. And maybe eventually we'll meet the short-term goals, but long term you'll lose people, right?
Absolutely.
And they are the ones who will make your life easier if you're going to be a Scrum Master for a long time. Because believe me, implementing Scrum when people are with you is way easier than just implementing Scrum without people being with you. So I think that's one.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. We go to the next one. We spent a lot of time on micromanaging. We don't want to micromanage anymore.
Do you want me to?
Yeah,
second
Sunand.
point?
Yes. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead. Important,
So
very important point, right?
this one is again, even now I have seen a lot of people doing that, and I was also there once upon a time. So what's happening in this case, that one of the main role of a scrum master is to remove the impediment. But I think that time I am the impediment for the team as a scrum master. It's a very big point. If you understand the essence of this point, that as a scrum master, first of all, we should come out of our insecurities, right? And I think it's not even a fault of a scrum master. Even the way the role and responsibilities has been written for them. And again, I think someone was told about, right? Depend on organization to organization. Right? But most of the time I have seen that if my team has some issues, right? If they have some concern with respect to requirement or something like that, they comes to me as a scrum master, and then I pass on that information to product owner or to client. Let's say they have something to my client, right? So I was acting as a bridge in between those two key stakeholders, right? And I think that was my biggest mistake. I was giving importance to me, that okay, I have to talk to client or I have to talk to product owner. He's on site, right? And the team also then depend on me for all those small questions, queries, right? So I think that was a mistake which I have done. As a scrum master, you don't have to be that kind of, I mean, a postman, as I mentioned over here, right? That okay, I'll take the message from here and pass on that message until unless you are adding some value in that conversation, right? Otherwise, I think you are just a blocker for your own team. So that's a very crucial lesson which I have learned over the period of time. Harsh?
Sunand, in fact, right, before Harsh adds anything on that, I want to diverge it with just not postman, right? It is like people call
Lot of
admin.
names. Admin.
No. That's what. Admin, people don't see a scrum master as a facilitator, but an admin to block the room, block the calendar, get people into the room. But as a facilitator, we have more responsibility, right? I want to learn from you both. How did you handle that particular situation?
You are diverting now the conversation.
No, I'm not diverting. It is just not postman. You are being added as an admin as well. I'm just adding one more point.
So maybe see, again, I think there is some point I have written somewhere again, same point as well as an admin. But because you have now mentioned, so I think maybe one of out of 100 or out of 20, maybe one of the responsibility may be there. Because I mean, why my team member is going to block the calendar, why he or she is going to talk to operational team, this and team, right? Why he has to do all those things, right? That's not, those are the diversion for my team, right? Of course. So there is no harm in doing that, right? But then that is one of the responsibility, not the responsibility, one of the responsibility, right? And this is why I think the perception of people that why the scrum master job is so easy, because they see, and again, this is not their fault. Now, I think we are going in some other direction because we have one more topic on this, and I think there we will talk about this in detail.
Okay.
That people thought about this, I think. So I think let's not go over there. Otherwise, it will be a different topic altogether. But yes, I think the main point is all this admin thing and is one of the responsibility, not the responsibility. Yeah, that's from my side. Harsh?
I agree. And I think from a postman's perspective, I myself have seen sometimes just becoming the communication channel and eventually being a, blaming channel. Saying that's what you said. Client say, hey, you promised it like that. And Scott said, you said it, we did not say it. So I have done that many times, because sometimes we even that's probably, let me say myself, I have done so many times, because usually we go to be, we start becoming a scrum master because we are probably one of the good orators. So we are one of the good communicators. And that's the reason sometimes we get selected for this post. And we feel, hey, you know, since I can talk well, let me talk with the client or product owner and let me try to calm him down or convince him or probably fool him. Okay. And I have done many times, especially if you are working in a vendor in a product contract situations. You may feel you are the medicine for the time, which will get you through the time. I have done it myself so many times, but eventually I found myself in the same ditch again, and probably even a bigger ditch, because, you know, I just did not enable my team to teach them how to communicate, how to be courageous enough and tell it at the same point of time, at the time of your sprint review, saying that, hey, it's not done, instead of saying, yeah, it's done, you know, we'll just show you something and get out of it, and then we'll just, you know, take something in the behind the scene and do it in the next sprint. I think I've done myself sometimes that, and it's definitely does not help you in future. You know, you'll be in a bigger ditch. So I do agree that it's actually a big pitfall, just becoming impediment itself by becoming a postmaster here.
Yeah. Small point on this same. You mentioned one very important point, Harsh, over there, that it's a failure for us if my team is not able to communicate to other stakeholders, right?
Yeah.
So, but then addition to this point, what I have seen that few people, for various reasons, they are, you know, introvert, and they are,
Yeah.
you know, little bit not able to open up. So they are good coder, they are good developer, right?
Yes.
But then they are not good communicator, right? So I
Yes.
think in those conditions, maybe you help those team members at least
Yes.
initially, right?
Yes.
And that's okay, but don't be I mean there for all the team, right? As you mentioned,
Perfect
you are
point.
not a bridge, you're not a,
Yeah.
you know, that part.
And
So,
I think you added a good point, right? It doesn't say that don't be a postman at all. It says that be when, you know, you have other birthing issues than just this one. So let your team focus on that and be this man for some time, but don't be so long that you yourself will become an impediment with that. I have to add one more point here, and that's something I have done in the past. Okay, sometimes we go as a scrum master and we work downwards, right? So we say that we are there to help the squad, to help the team, and be the communicator for the team. The reason sometimes, and one of the biggest reason is, you know, product owners or the clients are sometimes not very ready to listen to something we are going to say or they are going to tell at the end of a sprint or at the end of a particular delivery. As a scrum master, I think one thing which I realized as a, you know, mistake I did is I did not spend enough time with them from a product owner or a client perspective. You have to sit with them, you have to explain, saying that, hey, we are an equal stakeholder in, even if it fails, what you could expect, how, and probably coach them, try to learn, you know, talk to them, have a connect with them. Just don't spend all the time with your squad, right? Enable your squad so that they're independent, but also spend your, you know, product owners and clients so that they also understand Scrum, they also understand the accountability, which is not just getting distributed. So I think
Okay.
that's one.
In fact, no, that particular point is a very good segue for our next topic,
Yes.
I guess. But since you have covered most of the items on Postman, there is only one point which I wanted to add is like, hey, I think Harsh said this, right? You cannot be a postman always, but you, if there is a time that you have to be postman, you can take up that role also, right? And at the same time, it is not that you are always the driver. You have to just step back and let others also drive. That is when you are creating or coaching the team to be self-organizing. If you are just becoming a postman, the team is never going to, you know, drive by themselves or be self-organizing. That is the only point which I wanted to add. So uh, do not just be a postman, let others also be that, take that role, and don't get refrained from doing this. All right, so this actually sets a good way for the next topic of discussion, that is refinement. Am I correct?
let me see, is it refinement or yeah, I
Yeah.
think this is again, I think, mistake, but then I would say it's more like a regret, honestly. And why? Because I think when you are new to your team, to this role, right, you don't have that much courage to say no, right? And that's the very important value we know, right? The being a courageous. So what happened, and why I've just put it over here, that sometimes we all know that in sprint changes, there are a lot of pressure on the product owner, that they are the people who are sometimes pushing your team, to do a lot of other user stories. Even though you don't have a capacity, your project managers will, come up and then they will talk about that we have this delivery, that delivery. All this shows that there is problem, but then the root cause is somewhere else. It means that either you guys are not implementing the core of Agile Scrum, which talked about proper planning, right? We talked about capacity building, this and that, right? It means we are taking a lot of work, right? Our inflow is more, and we are not able to produce that kind of output, the valuable output which we are talking about, right? So sometimes it's very important to say no to your stakeholder, irrespective of whether it is your PO, project manager, client, even to sometime to your team. Sometimes when the teams are new, which I have also seen, they are full of into, right? Okay, we have done 10 user stories last sprint, let's take 12 or 13. Our velocity will increase. And then at the end of the sprint, right, they are not able to finish. So there is no harm in doing that one time, two time, but if they are keep on doing that, then you have to push them, tell them that no, right? So you have to protect your team with all these stakeholders. But sometimes I feel Scrum Master with not that much experience or who are new to this role fail to do so. So that's the point over here, which I want to make.
Okay, I completely agree, Sunand. However, this is a very recent challenge which in one of the case studies or one of the junior Scrum Masters had come, right? Say, my boss is not accepting the no, right? He wants an S, period. Okay, I'm a very junior guy. I take myself, put in like 5 years before or 6 years before. I'm not so courageous to speak up, right? So what is that one tip, Harsh, that you will give for those kind of things? Because I'm a very pushy manager. I want an S from you. I am not ready to listen no. And at the same time, I'm not courageous enough to say even without a pushy manager, right? What is your one key thing that you will say? And then I'll add my point.
First thing first, okay?
Yeah.
And this is the mistake I think I talked in the past. We have to talk just not to the team, but to the upwards also, right? So when your manager is so much pushing, please try to understand your manager, because probably he's on fire somewhere else.
Yeah.
So first try to understand, listen to him. I understand that, we go to product owner and he's like, hey, this is what we committed. Why are we not really doing this? And like, oh my God, then but listen to them, understand. And second thing, I think probably it's a little antithesis over here. Shielding the team till the point they break, probably yes, but don't shield the team always. So let them see the fire, right? Sometimes it's okay that they face the heat, because they just cannot see sprint. And if you're really doing agile and really doing sprint, believe me, it's for doing something you have never tried before. If you already know what has to be done, definitely believe me, sprint is waste. You can just do it better other way around. So you're doing something which you have not tried, so you are going to face something. And in such a case, when you have to say no, probably you have to spend, I think in such a case, you should spend more time with the manager or the person who is basically asking you to push more.
That is,
and let some of the hit go down to the team, but then at the same time, don't go to probably one of the review retrospective or a daily scrum as a scrum master, but go to them for a tea. Because that's where you'll get the daily status right.
Exactly. No, yeah. Sunand, do you want to add anything? Or?
Yeah. So see, my point over here is, and normally I also do the same thing, that if product owner or someone is coming to you, right, for whatever the reason, right, that okay, we need to deliver this, and of course we will ask like why. Why? I mean, what is the urgency, right? We just discussed this sprint planning, right? Like 2 days before, and now you are coming up with this. Whether then he or she will going to tell you the reason that okay, no, this is required. Okay, and we wait for the sprint to end, right? Yes, no. Of course, he will say yes or no. Can we just wait for 2 weeks? Is it that much urgent? And he will say no. Yes, it's so urgent that we have to do that. Yes, then we have other techniques, right? We can swap few user stories here and there, and we can make a point over there. But over here, what I have seen, my point is sometimes you feel helpless as a scrum master in the beginning, especially, right? When you are new, right? And you don't have the courage to say no, as you mentioned, right? That, okay,
Yes.
if project manager is coming in, he say, no, you have to deliver. And then you become pushy, as you mentioned, for sure, right? That, okay, I call them and then they are sitting at 10 o'clock or weekends they are working, right? So unnecessary deadlines we are creating. It means we are not doing proper agile, right? If we have a proper planning in place, we know that, okay, these many user stories, if our have proper product backlog, we know that we have that kind of visibility, right? That, okay, with this velocity, we are able to finish it, right? It means we are not able to tell those things to our stakeholders, right? It's our failure as well, somewhere down the line, right?
Yeah.
So 1 or 2 times it's okay. I mean, of course, there are exceptions always, right? But then this is on a broader perspective. Someone, they just come and they say, okay, I need this guy for 2 hours. I have some interview plan, right? And you will not say no, right? Because he or she is your project manager or someone else, right? So that's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
then
the
just
different.
ask the guy,
In
right?
fact, right, guys, this is for the listeners, right?
Yeah.
Here, do not read this slide as just not able to shield the team. Okay, that you have to read it with this context. In sprint changes, when product owner is pushy, when project manager is pushy, when client is pushy, you have to shield the team. Not in terms of if you have
Not
a
always,
bad
of
sprint.
course. They should know that
Yes,
why
yes.
you are getting the beating. Because
Right,
most
right.
of the time, Scrum Master is there in all those escalation calls if it happened, right?
Yeah,
So then everything comes down to him. Because
Yeah.
exactly.
in a way, he is representing his team over there in those calls, right?
Right,
And
right.
then you will be like, I don't know, like how to say and what to say at those times. Like,
That is
because
what, right? So
that what crappy code we are writing over there, those challenges, but then sometimes you have constraint that you cannot bring those internal challenges in front of the wider audience, the client, other project manager, delivery manager, all those people are there in those calls. You cannot just say that, okay, because my laptop is not working because of this IT guy. They will say, like, you guys are so multi-million dollar company and you don't have one laptop to. So I mean, I'm just making an example.
You're giving a right example.
A lot of things, right?
But the point here I want to make is, guys, it's not like not able to shield the team. It's like, hey, shield the team from external disturbance. However, you should not shield the team from transparency. It's a very, very broad point, because I have been even in that situation where I used to shield the team in a very bad scenario. If the sprint doesn't go well, I used to give a wonderful view. No, that is not the shielding which we are talking about here. We are talking about the shielding from any external disturbance that's going to affect what is team has to deliver within the sprint.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe one good example is a product owner is not sure what he wants.
Exactly.
And he's just coming and taking a lot of time in certain meetings, which he's not very sure about that.
Yeah.
So you have to pitch in, pause, ask him to go back, reflect.
Absolutely.
When he's prepared, we can spend time. So that is one example of shielding when we say shielding from product owner.
Yes. Shielding from, in fact, shielding from some wrong vibes from the product manager. Yeah, I have been in that situation, where team is really doing good. However, product manager, just by seeing one mistake, he's like actually bashing the team. You can shield there. You can be that shield, but not the other way around, right? So that is gonna, completely change the dynamics of it.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Wonderful.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see what happened. So you guys are taking my points, huh? You're not sharing your points.
I have two.
No, we are actually we are going by the flow of that. So no issues. We are there.
Okay.
So
you are shooting us. Yeah, go ahead.
So this is the one point which I want to highlight.
Yeah.
And this is again happened with me, but I again saw this with other Scrum Master as well. Now we all know that we know that importance of sprint refinement, but then most of the time when we start, right, with new team, as a new Scrum Master, right? So I think the most common reason behind sprint failure is that we don't have a proper good backlog refinement session. Because see, the goal of backlog refinement session is to ensure that product backlog is always accurate and reflect the proper current status of the project, which is not happening in a lot of projects, right? And this is the way that my team is going to be focused on what need to be done, when need to be done, and this will definitely going to help us in sprint planning session a lot. So sometimes what happened that we don't understand the importance of sprint refinement. Let's say if we have a 3-week sprint, we just do one refinement session. Again, it's depend on team, individuals, and their dynamics, that how mature and what is the product owner is doing about those product backlog. But then again, as an individual, I think I was not that much aware about the importance of sprint refinement at that time. And one more thing, I was also not actively participating or actively listening. What are those discussions happening during the sprint refinement session, initially at least, right? So I know that, okay, these guys are talking about, and I was more focused on, okay, let's give the, story points. Okay, you are good with this and that. So if you, as a Scrum Master, at least understand the large perspective, the landscape, that what is your project is all about. I'm not asking you guys to be so technical, but at least understand what is happening in your broader perspective. This is my database. This is my, API. This team is from this flow is happening. If you understand that much, at least this is definitely going to help you in a long run. So that's my perspective over here. That importance of sprint refinement. If you know that, the product backlog is not in a great shape, there are a lot of ways you can find out whether, with the help of product backlog, health check, we can do all those things. Now at least we are aware about, but not maybe that time. So yeah, I mean, that's the point which I want to highlight over here. That sprint refinement session somehow is neglected in a lot of teams projects. So yeah, Harsh, Harshu.
Harsh, do you want to go or?
No, go ahead.
Okay, all right. Hey, refinement, right? So in a sprint or a Scrum ecosystem, right? So refinement, I see refinement comes planning, right? Refinement is actually not a part of Scrum Guides thing, but this is the extra event which we created. See, this is the brain of whatever you want to achieve as part of the sprint 2 weeks. That's how I see, right? If you have to commit something that you wanted to complete in the next 2 weeks, you should have all the details that you need, that you have to figure out in this particular meeting, or take action items from this meeting, so that you can figure out during the sprint, just before the planning, right? So that is the importance of this meeting. There is another word which I learned recently, which I did not know earlier. This is something called upstream. What upstream is like getting to know any information before you start a work. All that becomes your upstream. Upstream could be, the flow of work from the requirement phase, or in the analysis phase, or during the analysis, whatever inputs that you want. So all that have to be learned before you commit something. However, I said the solution, but I'll tell you whatever mistakes I was doing, right? I come to the planning. If people just story pointed it, we take it. They don't know what exactly, they never thought about it. They just given a story point just like that. In a sprint refinement meeting, they come, this is 5 story points. This is going to take 5 days. There's no enough details. What is the story? They don't understand like how it has to be built. No brainstorming is done during this particular event. Everything was like just done like a ballpark. No, this particular meeting, it has to be facilitated by us as Scrum Masters, if you are available, or anybody like maybe product manager, you can coach or train your product manager to facilitate this event, so that team takes these 3 steps, right? First, they understand why a particular user story has to be built. Okay. Number 2, what is the solution that you are going to deliver for the problem statement that you have defined? And then the third, how are you going to develop this? What are the needs and what are the risks? If you are able to tackle these three pointers which I have given, right, you will have a wonderful planning and a wonderful sprint. This is what this refinement is defined for. Most of us miss it. Even I have missed it many times. Okay. With that, Harsh.
No, nothing more on refinement.
I'm so sorry. I become that framework person, right? To give like 3
Yeah,
pointers as we spoke. So yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Yes, this is again one of the mistakes. Again, I have seen a lot of people are doing still today. Now we are good in doing the retrospective, at least now, with so many apps and so many things are now available, website, this and that. So we are good in all those things. If someone is going to ask you, okay, tell me about your 2-3 different retrospective technique, they will give you 20, right? Now the challenge is good. We have done the retro, we have done this and that, and everyone is happy and this and that, and then we have few action items and that's it. Everyone will forget. Those action items will be there somewhere in your some tool or somewhere. And when after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, when the next retro will happen, then you will open those retrospective action items, and those are still in progress, or even no one knows what will happen to those items, right? Now that's the biggest challenge and mistake which normally we do as a Scrum Master, that we never follow up on those action items. So it's very important, first of all, to jot down all your action item in a proper template if you have, because template will give you a structure. Put some proper status over there, that is in progress, done, not done, started. And the important thing is action item owner. So all action item should have one action item owner, only one. So accountability will be with one person, responsibility may be with other people, 2 people, 3 people, right? So put the name of that person who is going to finish that action item. That's very important. If you just put team, then team is, believe me, that action item will never going to happen. I mean, 1 or 2 exceptions are always there, but then when you say that, okay, team is going to close this action item, it will be difficult. So nominate someone, ask team only, okay, what do you think? Who will going to finish this? Can you give us, that the name of that person? Because why I'm telling you this, because these are the small things, but then it's actually happening at grassroots level. People don't know at least that, okay, how to jot down the action items, right? And when you have the action items, when everyone is agreed that, okay, put some dates. It can be 1 week, 2 week, 2 months, it's okay, right? And whenever whenever your next retrospective is happening, to give that perspective that, okay, this is in progress, what is done so far on that particular action item, even if it's not started, why not started, right? And other thing is, do not wait for 2 weeks to show that action items to other people, right? After retro, jot down your action item, send it to all the team members to review. If you forget something, this and that. And then what normally I do, every alternative days, or at least once in a week. So let's say every Friday, once your daily Scrum call is over, you can open that action item list and just browse it. Just browse it. You don't have to spend much time over there. Just browse it. See if any individual have updated any columns, that, okay, this is progress, because there is some column as well, just to put an update. That's very important. Until unless team will see that something is happening on the retrospective items, action items, right? If you keep on doing, if you keep on forgetting your action items, then it will be very monotonous for your team. And then a time will come when team will stop talking about all those, important points with respect to, because then they know that there is nothing is going to happen on those action items, right? So then why we will take that much effort to come up with and put those things on the board, right? So that is my perspective. This is what I have seen, and this is what I am now doing, just to make it more transparent. And again, closure is important for those action items. Proper closure is important. That's the key over here in the retrospective. Retrospective, first part, everyone is aware about. We do this fancy stuff, this and that. But that's the important thing which we neglect, action items. So that's my perspective, guys. Over to you, Harsh.
Harsh, I let you go first. I have 2 points to add. I'll add later.
Yeah, I think at least for me, one of the bigger it's like if I take retrospective as a thing, and where I feel I went wrong was that it is okay if your team does not speak up. So I was always apprehensive, like retrospective should be, like the fireworks should happen, like all the mistakes should come out. And if they don't see the mistake, I thought that I'm supposed to show them the mistake and ask them to reflect on that mistake. And that was a mistake. So as a Scrum Master, I have done one big thing over there where I feel, people should know their mistakes, but it actually doesn't work like that. It has to come back from them, from their heart, and not something us which we have to show. So that's around retrospective, I think, a pitfall for a Scrum Master, which I see.
So Harsh, how you go about it? Like you mentioned that not all people have to speak up, right? So
Yeah, initially.
yeah,
So I think from a Scrum Master's perspective, I'm talking. See, it's okay if people won't talk. It's okay if your retrospectives are not happening the way probably it is happening today. Give it some time. Probably the problem lies somewhere else. You don't have to probably work on Scrum. You have to probably work at people level first,
of course.
and then the retrospective will start working. Just don't go and try to find various different types of retrospective facilitation on
That's
Miro
a
board
mistake
or
which
something.
exactly that's a mistake which people go about, right? They are
Yeah.
gung about finding this stuff, that stuff, this new tool, this this technique, that technique, right?
I remember
So
I did one mistake. Okay, like people are not talking. Okay, let me do one thing. Okay, next retrospective we'll do roundabout. Everybody has to speak for 3 minutes. Then thereafter people came. I was like,
I did.
one point came saying that retrospective is one of the worst event we have. I'm afraid I will not be joining the next one. So I'm like, okay. So you don't have to force people to talk. So your daily standards would be ugly, your retrospectives would be ugly, but accept that fact and then see how to improve from that. Don't see that it will change instantly and you have to just change your facilitation technique.
Yeah.
Facilitation technique is not going to help immediately, or it may hurt because it's a risky tool. It may help, but it may damage as well. Yeah.
Very, very good. Very good points, guys. In fact, right, I want to add, Harsh had covered one particular point, right? It is okay that people don't speak up early initially, and then we can add. And the second thing, as a Scrum Master, I failed, or I did a big mistake for longer time. It's like whenever I listen, oh, this is the problem, or this is what we are facing. Immediately, I used to jump to try solving it. You know, that is a difference between a symptom and a root cause problem, right? We spoke about actions, we spoke about people, people not speaking, but when people say also, right, as a Scrum Master, you'll be really eager to go solve it. But hey, take a step back, try to understand from the roots, hey, where exactly this problem coming from? Okay, and ask the people, like, what are the options or solutions they suggest to solve, instead of you giving a solution to them. Just with the first statement of problem, you listen. Okay, this is a meeting where you facilitate, not you give your inputs or you give your thoughts. Okay, you could be a great tech lead, but however, as a Scrum Master, you are a facilitator for this particular meeting, where don't jump to solve it. Try asking questions to people to solve it. Then, when you are brainstorming, people start contributing, right? Maybe not at the first time, but 2-3 sprints down the lane, when we are actually brainstorming great ideas, right? People will definitely start contributing to it. So don't say, listen. Same principle as my first point, talk less, listen more. All right, that is a key thing, so that you will go solve the root cause, or you go and try an innovative solution to solve the root cause, instead of just giving a solution, or just trying to just solve the symptom by wrapping a band-aid instead of giving an ointment to the wound. Okay, so that is more important. Identify the root cause and fix it. As a Scrum Master, you have to ask questions in the retrospective, and you are not supposed to give solutions in the retrospective. Yeah, that's the point which I wanted to add.
True. True. Okay. So I am running out of my points now. So
All right. If that is the case, if we have to close this discussion, right? I just want to close this discussion with two main points, guys. One is, hey, you took up this role as you liked, right? That's how many Scrum Masters took up this role. It is very necessary you follow the practice by continuously improving before pushing things on people. What I mean is, you also continuously improve. Maybe in the first sprint, things may go wrong, but self-reflect on yourself, identify what are the things you could change or you could adapt to, and start doing it better. And one last point to add is, Scrum is a framework, not a process. It's a very strong point, guys. Scrum is a framework, not a process. Okay, you are using Scrum framework to evolve your processes. This is a very important mindset for people, or all of us. In fact, I learned, like, in my 4.5 years of experience in Scrum mastery, right? I did not learn like Scrum master. Scrum is a framework. I learned a little later, but I want to share this knowledge to you. Scrum is a framework, not a process. Yes, over to Sunand or Harsh for the closing points.
I think only one point which I feel you should know, you all should know, is we have a perspective which we come from, and for a Scrum Master, sometimes that perspective becomes an impediment. So for example, I worked with X company and my team was really great. We were doing really great Scrum. What a great retrospectives we had. We were tracking velocity, estimation, everything was perfect, right? Product owner was doing his role. Everything was really nice. Now I changed my company. And what happened? I am seeing some really bad things. And
60-degree.
yes.
Yeah.
And what happens is, immediately I feel that, my God, what a garbage I'm in now. And then we lose our cool, we just get distracted. And that probably, even I have learned through it, it it took months for me to even get to realize that, that's the way it is. You write the code, right? When you're a developer, you write a code, and then you are going to write a code which was never written, because if the code was written, you were never hired. Same for a Scrum Master. You're engineering people, right? You're engineering the process people and the framework together. So every time you're going to see new people with a different challenge. And first of all, we have to understand that that is going to be different. For me, it took a couple of years and multiple teams to really get used to it. Every time a new team comes, oh my God, what a garbage this one. Probably after 6 months of the time, I like, oh no, I think they were really doing great even in such a condition. So if I know that team is sitting at 12 o'clock at the night, and if the daily stand-up doesn't happen with all the people in the team, it's okay, because there is something other problem which is way bigger than having a daily stand-up with all the people in 15 minutes. So I think as a Scrum Master, I think we should not get stuck with our perceived perception of our past, and be open to the new world always, and then see how you can work from there, because that's the work you're hired to do. So,
Come out of the cognitive bias.
yes.
My experience is totally different, Harsh.
Yeah.
Like I was here in some other team, and then
Yeah.
I changed the company, and then the new team was like, okay, this is the way of doing the Agile Scrum, and what
Yes.
I was doing from last so many months or years.
Yeah.
So that's, a different perspective. So that's why it's very important, honestly. Like, this is what one small point I just want to add. So very important to switch your teams, your organization, of course, for your money, you will change it. For what various reasons, you will change it. But to gain that kind of experience, right? Once you work in a small companies, startups, big organizations, large organizations, this domain, that domain, then you will get a holistic picture, like why it's important, why we are doing it, or why they are not doing it, or why we have done in the previous organization or team, why we cannot do the same thing in this team, right? And this is all about experience. So sometimes I feel luck also play a small part, that because we never know like what kind of organization, what kind of projects which we are going to be part of, right? So I think, yeah, it's a again an important point. So yeah. Okay.
Wonderful.
Anything else, guys?
Nothing. I think I'm good. We've had a very long conversation, so I think we should wrap up.
Okay, so I hope guys you like this session, and if yes, give a big thumbs up, guys. We really want to see your comments, that if you like this session, what kind of conversation you want us to do in a future, because we hope that this kind of series we will continue. And yeah, so with this thought, don't forget to subscribe over our channel, and bye guys, and see you in the next session.
See you.
Yeah. Thank you, Sanand, for having us.
Yeah.
Bye.